Besigye free.
Free.
Free Besigye free.
Free.
Free Besigye free.
Free.
Down with Museveni down.
Down.
Down with Museveni down.
Down.
Down with Muhoozi down.
Down.
Viva Congo viva.
Viva.
Free Uganda free.
Free.
We can start. We are gathered here to issue a statement regards the situation of Dr. Kizza Besigye. We are all aware of the incident that happened yesterday while he was in court. We are all aware about his case, the treason charges, of which he has been battering in the court for the last 2 years, but bado there is no end. We are all aware that his legal team, his representatives, one including Council Martha Karua, has been denied entry to Uganda. His other lead counsel, Elias Lukwago, is in jail. All his associates, all his lawyers have been threatened. They are either in Uganda living in fear or outside of Uganda. And then yesterday while in court, he was forced to use the lawyers or representatives from the government, which he denied, and that coercion, he collapsed, and as we speak, he's still unconscious in Murago Hospital. So we are issuing a statement. I think we can begin.
For immediate release, emergency alert for Dr. Kizza Besigye, collapse in state custody and remain in ICU. An urgent call to halt the cruel state-sanctioned extension of Dr. Kizza Besigye and Elias Lukwago by the Museveni Muhoozi regime. July 30th, Legal Defense Network, Regional Bar Association, International Human Rights watchdogs, civil societies actors, and human rights defenders worldwide issue this alert on the systematically physical destruction of Dr. Kizza Besigye and his legal counsel by the regime of Yoweri Museveni and Chief of Defense Force, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. The crisis reaches as Coffeefield tips pointed yesterday, July 29th, when 70-years-old Dr. Kizza Besigye collapsed into a state of unconsciousness inside a forfeit cage at a high court in Kampala. Eyewitness, a legal account described a shocking, frail state of deterioration, with Dr. Besigye exhibiting yellowing eyes, labored breathing, and gasping for air. He is currently fighting for his life under hostile military guard in the ICU at Mulango National Referral Hospital. Simultaneously, his co-counsel and People Front for Freedom leaders Elias Lukwago is trapped in critical condition at Luzira prison, where the state is actively denied him special life-saving medical evacuation to India despite official warning from national referral doctors that his life is in imminent danger. The international community must recognize this pattern. The Museveni Muhoozi junta is utilizing weaponized medical neglect and administrative torture to eliminate its critics.
Viva comrades, viva!
Viva!
Viva comrades, viva!
Viva!
Viva comrades, viva!
Viva!
Forward with organizing, forward!
Forward!
Forward with borderless Africa, forward!
Forward!
Forward with borderless Africa, forward!
Forward!
My name is Mark Amiani, the National Organizing Secretary for Kongamano la Mapinduzi, which is a political movement and is in solidarity with all the political prisoners in Uganda. The case of Kizza Besigye, transnational kidnapping and illegal extradition. The current life-threatening hospitalization of Dr. Kizza Besigye is the direct result of lawless cross-border security operation executed in absolute violation of territorial sovereignty and international law. The illegal abduction from Nairobi on November 16, 2024, Dr. Besigye was unlawfully seized from an apartment in Riverside suburb of Nairobi, Kenya, by armed operatives acting in collusion with Uganda security elements. he was held incommunicado, denied access to legal counsel or his family, and secretly spirited across the border. Flagrant violation of extradition treaties. The regime bypassed all established legal, judicial and diplomatic protocols governing international extraditions between Kenya and Uganda. No formal extradition requests were filed. No judicial hearings were held in Kenyan courts, and no deportation orders were legally processed. Hereby we ask the Kenyan government, what were you trying to do with Dr. Kizza Besigye? Why were you part of this abduction? And why did you allow to be part of this abduction? A dangerous regional president. The continued detention of Dr. Besigye, therefore, cannot be viewed in isolation. Comrades, the continued detention of Dr. Besigye, therefore, cannot be viewed in isolation. His unlawful cross-border rendition, prolonged detention, deteriorating health, and continued prosecution despite mounting challenges to the state's own evidence collectively point to an escalating assault on due processes, judicial independence and the rule of law. This lawless cross-border rendition constitutes a state-sponsored kidnapping on sovereign foreign soil, the same way we witnessed Comrade Boniface Mwangi when he was abducted in Tanzania. And Bob Njagi and Nicholas Toyo, who abducted in Uganda twice. By transforming neighboring territories into hunting grounds for political dissidents, the Museveni-Muhoozi apparatus has directly undermined regional stability. Comrades, the Museveni-Muhoozi and the Suluhu and the Ruto apparatus has directly undermined regional stability and violated the principle of non-refoulement under international refugee and human rights law. Viva fighters, viva! Viva! Viva fighters, viva!
Viva! Viva Kenyans, viva! Viva! Viva Uganda, viva! Viva! Free Besigye, free Besigye!
Free Besigye!
Free areas Lukwago!
Free areas Lukwago!
So my names are Julius Kamau Kimani, human rights defender, and we are here because I feel bad, I feel sad about Uganda, about this case. It's so terrible, it should never have happened in the first place. And so I continue reading the statement. On 15th June, so I'm reading the case of Arias Lukwago, armed abduction, enforced disappearance, and basement torture. On 15th June 2026, heavily armed personnel reportedly belonging to the Special Forces Command of the Uganda People's Forces, UPDF, forcibly entered Mr. Lukwago's residence in the Wakariga neighborhood of Kampala and moved him without a warrant of explanation. And for more than 48 hours, his whereabouts remained unknown. General Muhoozi Kainerubaga, Chief of Defense Forces, is reported to have ordered the operation and subsequently published a series of posts on social media publicly claiming responsibility for Mr. Lukwago's capture, including photographs showing him blindfolded, stating that he had been taken to his basement and issuing explicit threats against his physical safety. Furthermore, Mr. Lukwago's family has reported that he was severely beaten and subjected to physical trauma while held entirely incommunicado. Thank you.
Viva comrades, viva!
Viva.
Free Besigye, free!
Free.
More power to the people of Uganda, more power!
More power.
My name is Elisha Ochieng Alam, a human rights defender here in Kenya, and in solidarity with our brothers in Uganda, we are here to read this statement. The charge sheet of Dr. Kizza Besigye, an airtight indictment of state lawlessness. Beyond the humanitarian emergency, serious questions are now being raised about credibility and internal consistency of the prosecution on evidence. Recent defense analysis identify multiple contradictions within the state principal witness statements, including conflicting timelines concerning alleged meetings in Geneva inconsistent accounts surrounding the alleged Kisumu event, and chronology that appears incompatible with public document event. These issues go directly to the liability of the prosecution's central narrative and reinforce the urgent need for independent judicial scrutiny before lives are irreparably lost in custody. As articulated by prominent legal defenders, including Advocate Isaac Christopher Lubogo, the Museveni Muhoozi military apparatus has completely discarded the facade of constitutional state. The regime is operating in direct criminal violation of both domestic founding laws and international treaties. Defiance of APEC judicial power. The regime continued to hold Dr. Besigye in total defiance of the January 31st, 2025 Supreme Court of Uganda ruling, which explicitly ordered his release. This open executive defiance violates Article 126, Section 1 of the Constitution of Uganda, which affirms that judicial power is derived from the people. The continued detention, despite the Supreme Court ruling, coupled with growing questions surrounding the prosecution evidence, has further eroded the confidence in the independence and integrity of Uganda's justice system.
My name is Sayelel Manguyo. I'm a Pan-African and a human rights defender. So, the inflicting unconstitutional and derogable torture by keeping a feasible failing Dr. Besigye and Lord Mayor Aries Lukwago in a toxic prison condition. While denying the medical care, the state is violating Article 23, 24 and 44 of the Uganda Constitution. Those articles protect non-derogable rights and strict prohibit any form of cruel, inhuman and degrading treatment. Operating defiant illegal military courts, the Supreme Court's landmark ruling explicitly declared that civilians can no longer be tried by military court under Article 28, Clause 1 and 210, because the military tribunals have zero legal jurisdiction over civilian any prior or ongoing military charges against Dr. Kizza Besigye are illegal and void. His holding is no longer a legal process. It is a lawless executive hostage situation. Violation of the UN Mandela rules by actively blocking Aries Lukwago's medical evacuation to India and keeping Besigye under hostility military lockdown. The junta is direct violation of Rule 27 of the United Nations Standard Minimum of Rules for the treatment of prisoners, the Mandela Rules, and Article 16 of the Africa Charter on Human Rights and People Rights, which mandate the immediate transfer of illegal detainees to specialized medical institutions. Those obligations exist irrespective of the charges faced by detainees and require authority to preserve life and dignity while legal proceedings continue. The targeted destruction of the legal defense to ensure opposition leader dies without access to fair trial or public voice. The regime has carried out brutal campaign to decapitate their illegal representation.
People power, our power. People power, our power. People power, our power. Our power, people power. The targeted destruction of legal defense to ensure opposition leaders die without access to a fair trial or a public voice. The regime has carried out a brutal campaign to decapitate their legal representation. The medical hostage taking of Aries Lukwago, jailed on trumped-up prison charges, Kampala Road Mayor Aries Lukwago is experiencing severe systematic health failure. A medical evaluation from the executive director of Mulago National Referral Hospital explicitly notes severe spinal complications and advanced hypertension. appearing via Zoom, Lukwago pleaded, "I need to be in India immediately if my life is to be saved." The state has repeatedly adjourned his bail hearings, effectively handing him a slow death sentence to block him from resuming Besigye's legal support. The residue harassment of Aaron Kiza. While prominent human rights attorney Aaron Kiza was released on a steep 20 million shillings cash bail following international outrage over his unconstitutional 9-month military court conviction, his ability to practice remain heavily restricted. The state continues to subject him to relentless judicial harassment, strict travel bans, and mandatory monthly reporting to the court registrar, sabotaging his ability to mount an unfettered defense for Besigye. The ban on Kenyan Council. The regime has formally barred Council Mother Karua from entering Uganda, sealing off Dr. Besigye from regional legal protection. People power, our power. Anthony Sekalala.
People power, our power. Down with Ruto, down.
Down.
Down with Museveni, down.
Down.
Down with Suluhu, down.
Down.
Down with Muhoozi, down.
Down.
Emergency critical demands. The international community can no longer provide diplomatic cover or financial life to support a regime operating a lawless dynastic military dictatorship. Demand. Number 1. Immediate release of Dr. Kiza Besigye on humanitarian grounds. Court order authorities must immediately grant unconditional bail to Dr. Besigye to permit urgent specialized medical treatment. Drop all political motivated charges against Dr. Besigye and Haj Obidi Lutale, and permit an independent international medical team to oversee Besigye ICU recovery. 2. Immediate release of Iriasi Lukwago. Authorities must immediately grant unconditional bail to Iriasi Lukwago to permit urgent specialized medical evacuation to India to save his life. 3. Target the Museveni Muhoozi enablers. Global magnetic sanction. The US, UK, and EU must freeze the foreign bank accounts, offshore assets, and luxury real estate holdings of President Yoweri Museveni, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, and prison commanders directly supervising the medical starvation of Lukwago and Besigye. 3. The immediate suspension of global security funding. Foreign government must immediately cut off all military hardware sales, training aid, and intelligence sharing grants given to the Uganda People Defense Forces, UPDF. Global taxpayers must not fund a military command that openly tortures lawyers and abducts political opponents from neighboring sovereign democracies. My name is Michael Ngige, aka Jomo Kenyatta Jr. Thank you.
Viva Comre, viva!
Viva!
Viva Comre, viva!
Viva!
Down with Museveni, down!
Down!
Down with Muhoozi, down!
Down!
Down with Suluhu, down!
Down!
So in conclusion, I just want to say that Uganda is breeding. Uganda is breeding. Museveni and his son Muhoozi are just a project of pain, murder, torture, enforced disappearances, all that Ugandans have never asked for. There are hundreds and hundreds of opposition critics, especially allied to NUP, who are rotting in jails, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. No court undertakings. Many of them are in basements. And of course, we have had a history of other nationals, especially in the case of Bob Njagi, Nicholas Oyo, who were abducted and kept incommunicado in basements, what Museveni called fridges, for nearly a month or so, we have a case of Boniface Mangi, who was abducted in Tanzania, and so this is not only happening in Uganda, but is now almost an East African affair. So what can we do to stop all this madness? As we have said, the international community and all associates of the human rights should come through, because if nothing happens, Uganda will no longer be a country. It's a terror or dungeon of murder, torture, of which many people are afraid to speak out. So I thank all the voices that come through to talk and condemn all these atrocities that are happening in Uganda. Thank you.
Viva comrade, viva! Viva! Viva comrade, viva! Viva! I'm a Ugandan journalist and I'm a political journalist as well. I'm Douglas Kesegawa. I come from Uganda. What I can really say, Ugandans, we have betrayed Dr. Kizza Besigye. To be honest, for the years Dr. Kizza Besigye has spent in prison, Ugandans have been very inert in actually putting out a demonstration for them to make sure that Dr. Kizza Besigye, who has been in prison for approximately 20 years, to be released. And when Museveni came out, was very sarcastic on the situation of Dr. Kizza Besigye. And Dr. Elias Lukwago, the condition Dr. Elias Lukwago is in currently is really very misery, because when you look the way the judiciary in Uganda operates, it's really, what can I even really say? I've covered a lot of stories. I've actually gone to prisons. I've wrote articles in different newspapers, but I feel very sad because the government of President Museveni and the son, Muhoozi have really done injustice to the Ugandans. Ugandans seem to be having peace, but ironically they aren't. People are in jail, people are rotting in jail, and they're not brought to book in order for them to be sentenced. People are actually abducted in broad daylight, and Ugandans are there inert, keeping quiet. It really pains me a lot. As a journalist, I've really discovered that Ugandans are very timid. Ugandans, please, you wake up. Wake up. That is your country. That is your motherland. It's better for you Ugandans to wake up, because the moment you sleep up, trust me, they are creating a dynasty. And the dynasty is actually circulating from the father to the son, now to the grandson. Time to come. I beseech you Ugandans and all international organizations to come actually in hand to help Ugandans to make sure that they really fight for their rights. Ugandans, we are becoming very extinct. We are hibernating. What is wrong? Kenyans are becoming more aggressive, and they're actually putting Ruto onto the nail, and they're saying Ruto one term. Why can't we Ugandans do that to President Museveni, who has really ruled us for approximately 45 years? Now he's going to make approximately half a century. What are we really doing? I feel very, very upset, and I'm very tragic on this. Ugandans, we should wake up. Free Dr. Kizza Besigye, free Elias Lukwago, and free all political prisoners. That's what I can really say. I'm Douglas Kesegawa.
Thank you. My name is Sheikh Muhammad Khan. Basically, I'd just like to add to the abductions of the political leaders in Uganda. We also had recently, just yesterday, our Dr. Victoria Ntunya Mutiso was killed in cold blood. We would also like to call on the Kenyan government. Where is this country headed to? Why can't we live peacefully? Why can't we move around? Why should a person just be killed just because of a small dispute? So you want the police forces, especially Mr. Lagat, to be answerable to this, so that our doctors and our engineers don't start running away from this country because they fear for their life. Thank you.
Kwa majina ni Felix Wambua, na tumekuja hapa kutia ndugu zetu Waganda moyo kwamba ipo siku haya yataisha. Lakini kabla yaishe, dunia ni lazima ijue kwamba Museveni mambo anayoyafanya ni yale yale yaliyofanyika kule Tanzania kwa Mheshimiwa Tundu Lissu. Tuliona makosa ya uhaini yalimwekelewa Mheshimiwa Tundu Lissu, akakataa mawakili wake ndio akajiwakilisha, na hivyo hivyo ndivyo Besigye alivyotaka kufanya ili yeye mwenyewe aweze kujiwakilisha. Tumejua kwamba serikali za jumuiya yetu zime weaponize the judicial system. Independent bodies are no longer independent. I want to send a message to all the enablers of these atrocities happening within the region that today you are loyal to a murderer. Today you are going to be loyal to serve justice that favors one who is killing democracy within the region. But when day comes, it shall be your eyes on the judicial bodies. The East legislature is the East African Court of Justice. We are looking at you. We want you to add on voice on this. There are people who are ailing. Besigye is in critical condition. We know last time when he was sick, he came to seek medical attention here in Kenya, Aga Khan Hospital. Same with Elias Lukwago. Some of us have special attachment with Uganda because we cannot have a region, a complete region without countries. We know that Uganda, what is happening in Uganda will spread to other countries. Today, we have an interior minister who is threatening the opposition leaders. This is a wake-up call. Whatever is happening to opposition leaders in Uganda could happen to you, Mr. Gashagwa, could happen to you, Kalonzo. You need to add on voice into this. As you go to seek out your votes, we want to know and hear about your international policies, because we cannot live as an island, as a country. Thank you. Felix Wambu.
Welcome, brother. In Uganda, we have a chant that motivates us as the people and reminds us of the power we have. And we say, people power. People power. We're going to say our power. People power. Our power. People power. Our power. People power. Our power. In a world where the guns have repressed the people power, the people must stand up twice, must double their commitment, their confidence, to see that we rise to the militarism and we rise to the dictators. My name is Samuel Kisitu. When I fled from Uganda to come to Canada, I named myself Freeman. I thought I've come to the land of milk and honey, the land where my dreams will be fulfilled, the sanctuary country. I had landed in the sanctuary city, thinking things will be better than ever before when I get protection. But here I come to the sad reality. When we saw so many Africans on the streets, we don't know that so many fled the wars that the air show is promoting. Shame. Again, my name is Samuel Kisitu. I am a member of the Migrant Workers Alliance for Change. I stand here before you today as someone who fled Uganda, seeking asylum in Canada after being targeted for supporting the People Power movement. A movement that led to the growth of a political party called the National Unity Platform, led by Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, also known as Bobby Wine, a musician who turned politician to fight for the local people, the ghetto people. We are here today not to just speak out, but to demand an end to the glorification of the war, of wars and militarism which the Toronto Air Show represents. We stand united to demand an end to the war and an end to the borders and an end to the two-tiered immigration system. We call for permanent residence status for every people who fled their homes seeking for protection, finding safe haven after fleeing wars and other devastations. We want the permanent residence status. We demand that the permanent residence status include all undocumented people. But to truly understand why we are here today, we must confront the tragic reality that wars enabled by militarism continue to devastate lives around the world, especially Africa. After mastered the horrors of colonialism and slavery, we now endure the ravages of neocolonialism and modern day slavery. Wars that are sustained by the very militarism that the air show glorifies. Across Africa, dictators have clung onto power for far too long, often at the expense of democracy and freedom. And while some may urge that militaries have at times tipped the scales toward democracy, we must change that narrative. Article 1 of the Ugandan Constitution states, all power belongs to the people who shall exercise their sovereignty in accordance to the Constitution. But that is not true in Uganda, and that is why Uganda is listed number 2. UN lists Uganda number 2 of the top countries where people have fled their homes. I mean, the number of migrants immigrants fleeing their homes for permanent stay wherever they go lists Uganda as number 2. But I want to tell you that many of those go undocumented, like other members who are not documented from other countries. So we must stand together. I fled Uganda with this red bellet. This red bellet, which I wear as not as a symbol of military. No, I'm not a soldier. No, I've never been in the army or police. No, but I wear this bellet as a symbol, as a democratic and peaceful symbol of the people power movement. Many of you have seen such berets have the gun. We just have the chant, people power movement, and our fist of standing united wherever we go, whether locally, at home, or in the diaspora. We civilians, we are committed to removing the world is serving dictator, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Museveni who once claimed to fight for liberation. When I put Museveni, you put the dictators back at your home. The dictators you have home. Where I have put Museveni, you put the name of that dictator that you know. Museveni who claimed to fight for liberation, just like that president who wanted to fight for liberation in your country, has now become the very oppressor he fought against. The Ugandan Bush War, which began in my homeland, Luwelo district, claimed the lives of between 100,000 to 500,000 people. The war that brought Museveni to power. My family too was drawn into these conflicts. My father, Elsania Chisitu, I'll make these names because you don't know why. My father, Elsania Chisitu, who named me after his name to be Samuel Chisitu, joined Museveni in the war, in the fight. And my uncle Wama Livingstone was killed by Obote's soldiers for hiding Museveni. My father, Ronald Setimba, who survived the war, carried the burdens, the heavy burdens of caring for the widows and orphans the late left behind. I know many of you Canadians know about one dictator, Idi Amin, who expelled the Ugandan Indians in the 1972. I want to inform you that the rise and fall of one dictator will make the rise and fall of another. And I want to tell you that it is worse in Uganda. The 38 years that Museveni has been in power, it is horrible for us who want him to free the land, who want him to at least rest, like Biden says, I stop here. Growing up, I witnessed the lasting scars of this war, fueling my unwavering resistance against a government that has brought too much poverty and misery to our people. The pain of losing my uncle symbolizes the sacrifice of so many who dared to resist oppression across the world. This red bellet represents the blood lost, that is why it's red. The blood lost by so many victims of war in Uganda, in Africa, and rest of the world. But the trauma of the war does not end when we cross borders. Even here in Canada, we are confronted with the glorification of the war. As you may see, what's happening. The Toronto Air Show, with its lowering CF-18s, is a branded advertisement for militarism, showing how powerful they are. These warplanes have slaughtered thousands across Afghanistan, Libya, Iraq, and Syria. They have bombed critical infrastructure, leaving millions without safe drinking water or electricity, and contributing to massive humanitarianism crisis and refugee crisis. Some of us, like myself, we were fortunate enough to escape and flee refugee and flee the lands and seek refugee, or to flee. Some of us were fortunate enough to escape and seek refuge in countries like Canada. But the trauma of war does not end when we cross the borders. Many of us are separated from families, forced to navigate an immigration system that devalues our humanity. Even here in Canada, the Toronto Air Show glorifies war, a war that has destroyed our lives and uprooted us from our homes. War is not something we should celebrate. It is something we must resist. We are here to remind you, or to demand justice. An end to war, an end to borders, and an end to a two-tiered immigration system. We demand permanent resident status for everyone, including the undocumented. Let's stop sanitizing the horrors of war and start fighting for peace, justice, and dignity for all. Join us on September 15th at the City Hall at 1 p.m. to the rally to unite against racism and say yes to immigration justice. Let's come together to demand status for all and regularization of everyone. Canada, stop the Toronto Air Show. Thank you for listening.